Robbie lived with his mother at 36 Yoganada Street in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, in a 4,000-square-foot colonial-style home. The house was pale yellow, with wooden siding and green shutters, with a built-in 2-car garage. It was as picturesque as the town it inhabited. At the time of the shooting, the front door and landing area were appropriately decorated for Christmas, with a wreath on the front door, and garland, and Christmas lights. When police searched the home, they found a check that Robbie's mother had written to him so he could purchase a new firearm as a Christmas present. As investigators searched the home, they couldn't help but notice how each piece of the evidence they found was more disturbing than the last. There were other firearms in the home and more than 1,400 rounds of ammunition. In fact, boxes of ammunition were found in almost every room of the house. One of the bedrooms was used as a computer room of sorts. Inside, investigators found a hard drive that was damaged, multiple types of ammunition, and a metal gun safe that was opened and contained a single rifle inside. They also found a 7-foot by 4-foot spreadsheet that Robbie created. It contained about 500 mass murders and the weapons that were used for each attack. Also found in the computer room was the book called Amish Grace, which is a book about the Nickel Mines Amish school shooting that happened in Bart Township, Pennsylvania. We covered the shooting on this podcast in episode 7. Multiple other books were found in the home, such as Social Skills Training, Divorce for Dummies, and other miscellaneous books about Asperger's syndrome. A samurai sword and other knives were also found in the home. The room that was determined to belong to Robbie appeared to be nearly empty. There was a bed that was neatly made with a single pillow, and an armoire that contained about 12 pairs of khaki cargo-type pants and blue shirts. There was a TV stand that had a small tube-style TV sitting on it. Most disturbing of all, however, is that there were black plastic or black trash bags taped over the windows to keep the room as dark as possible. Something else that was very strange was that Robbie seemed to be obsessed with a game called Dance Dance Revolution, also called DDR. Robbie's mom's car had a GPS which recorded where the vehicle had driven. Upon further investigation, it was proven Robbie would drive to the AMC Theater in Danbury, Connecticut, most weekends, and he would play the game for 4 to 10 hours a day. DDR is an interactive game where players stand on a mat or perform and step on different colored arrows that correspond to whatever cues the screen is showing them. There are different versions of the game. Some are an actual arcade system with a platform or a stage of sorts, and a large screen that the player watches to match the cues. The other version is an at-home edition, where players can buy the dance mat and game at a store and play the game in the comfort of their own home. Robbie had the home version of the game, but liked going to the theater to play. The game can be used as a form of exercise because it gets your heart pumping and burns calories. Patrons at the theater would later comment on how strange it was to see Robbie playing the game, because he would play for hours and hours without breaking a sweat or even getting winded. There are videos on YouTube of Robbie playing the game with his feet dancing almost non-stop. The students of Sandy Hook returned to school on January 3, 2013. However, they didn't return to Sandy Hook Elementary School. They went to a vacant middle school called Chalk Hill, which is located in Monroe, about 10 miles away from their hometown school. 10 months after the shooting, the school was demolished. Contractors were told to destroy every trace of the building. Not only did they demolish the school, but they also destroyed all the pieces and materials of the building. The only thing that remained from the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School was the flagpole. The school district received a $50 million grant from the state to rebuild the school. The school would be 86,000 square feet and hold classes from pre-K through 4th grade students. The school worked with the top security designer in the country to make the students feel safe and make the school one of the most secure schools in the country. Sandy Hook Elementary School was kept as the name for the new school, which features a memorial garden. The garden was built on the site of the 2 classrooms where most of the victims lost their lives. Newtown acquired the shooter's home in March of 2015, and because of the notoriety of the shooting, the house was demolished and will be left as open space. Multiple lawsuits were filed against Robbie's mother's estate by the victims' families. Some of the suits claim that Robbie's mother failed to keep her firearms locked appropriately away from her disturbed son. Others allege she should have known about her son's fixation with mass shootings and his interest in the body counts from school shootings. His oversized spreadsheet on mass shooters showed his morbid fixation and interest. They believe she should have known he was a danger to himself and others. Many believe she shouldn't be considered a victim, and even the Wikipedia page lists 26 victims at Sandy Hook. His mother isn't included. Some lawsuits were filed against the school, claiming that the school failed to keep the students safe. Upon a thorough review of the case, it seems this horrible tragedy may have been prevented. Robbie may have been stopped if all the proper steps were followed, and he received adequate mental health care. Certainly, without abundant access to firearms, Robbie would have had a much more difficult time in committing this horrible act. While our intent isn't to argue the politics of mass shooting cases, it is abundantly clear that the United States needs significant, meaningful reform to our mental health systems. Please remember, if you see something, hear something, or know of someone that needs help, say something. Just that simple act of paying attention and caring enough to speak up could save countless lives. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Active Shooter, the podcast. Remember, if you see something, say something. There's no telling how many lives you may be saving. A huge thank you to Darren Curtis, who composed some of the music used in this episode. Check him out at darrencurtismusic.com. DARRENCURTIS music.com.
Active shooter, reports of an active shooter, active shooter
mass casualty incidents.
Make sure to check us out on social media. We have a discussion group on Facebook. Just search for Active Shooter, the podcast discussion group. You can also find us on Instagram at Active the Podcast and Twitter at Podcast Active. For just $1 a month, you can get access to ad-free episodes, early release episodes when available, and a shout-out on the show. Just go to patreon.com/Active the Podcast. Thank you, and be safe.